Hey everyone, welcome back to the Peru Channel podcast. I'm your host Philip, and here we talk about all kinds of topics that I think might be interesting to those who not only plan to visit the country, but also to those who already live here. This week has seen some really big news from across the country, starting with Lima's Jorge Chavez International Airport finally opening in a few days. Construction began back in 2022 and will finally culminate with full operation beginning on Sunday, June 1st. The new control tower and the second runway have already opened back in 2023, but Sunday at noon, things will be going across the entire facility. The current airport in Lima opened back in December 1965, making it 60 years old. The new airport is expected to be a spectacular facility that can accommodate 40 million passengers each year. While not officially open, there have been test arrivals and departures going on for the last 2 weeks of May. While I haven't talked to anyone yet who has come in or out on one of these flights, there doesn't seem to be any reporting of major problems. It's all about making sure everything is ready for the big changeover. If anything, the one big problem, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, is the traffic situation. And that reportedly has been a pretty big issue, but they knew this was coming. On May 31st, the old airport is going to close its doors for the last time at midnight, with the new airport opening 12 hours later at noon. This shutdown period is designed to give operations time to move from one facility to the other. I made two plans in the past to be at the new airport on or near opening day already this year, only to see each time the new facility's opening postponed. This time, everyone has confidence and complete confidence that barring something drastically unexpected, things will start as planned on Sunday. My current plans are to pass through the airport twice in the first week. I'm not sure how I'll have enough time to do a lot of reporting on it, but I'll have time to get a good feel for the new airport, especially for domestic arrivals and departures. I will be going back the second week of June, and I'll be able to spend a lot more time reporting on the new airport and actually I'm going to try to film as much as I can of everything inside. Again, I'll be focusing on domestic arrivals and departures because I won't have access to the international areas, or at least on the other side of security. While the interior of the new terminal will be completely new, there are a lot of things that are going to stay the same. The new terminal, by the way, is located on the other side of runway 1 from the old terminal. I know one person on social media has been announcing repeatedly that it's over 7 kilometers away, despite being told how close it really is. I guess that person had better sources than someone who travels there many times a year and, along with millions of other people, has watched construction going on less than a kilometer away across the runway. In and out transportation won't change much as there is a single point of entry. There are questions about the traffic which will occur at first, and airport officials are recommending arriving 3 hours before international flights and 2 hours before domestic flights, with possibly more time allowed at high traffic times in Lima. There have been some reports in the last week or two during these testing flights that there has been a lot of congestion at the airport entrance. So in that case, I would strongly recommend that you might even want to arrive at the airport earlier than that. And if you're going somewhere from the airport, take in consideration that it may take you a while to leave the airport. For arrivals, there will continue to be an assortment of professional and safe taxi companies operating to take you anywhere in Lima. Personally, I always take Green Taxi, especially after hours. For a cheaper ride to Miraflores that is comfortable and safe and surprisingly fast, the Airport Express buses will operate as usual. I highly recommend them during the day. They have space for your luggage, they're very safe, they're comfortable, and they're only 20 soles, whereas a taxi, for instance, going to Miraflores is going to cost you 25 soles with a taxi. I've never heard anything bad about any of the other taxi companies that operate out of the airport. I just prefer Taxi Green or Green Taxi because that's the one I've always taken. Any professional taxi company will continue to be able to bring you back to the airport as before, and this will probably be the one place where there will be nothing unexpected as long as traffic cooperates. The same goes for the Airport Express buses, for which I'll put a link to their website in the show notes so you can get an idea of how that works. Trust me, though, it's easy, and they depart from 4 stops in Central Miraflores every hour. There hasn't been a lot of information available about departures and arrivals and check-ins, but since the airport's new capacity is so much greater than the old one, you certainly won't have any trouble getting around, especially considering there will be plenty of airport personnel in place to answer questions and help you get where you need to be. International arrivals will come through the first floor. Immigration will have 33 physical checkpoints with 10 e-gates, with international departures having 21 physical checkpoints and 9 e-gates after you pass through the normal security checks. E-gates are the name which they use for the automated electronic immigration kiosk that will quickly speed things up for everyone. Peruvian citizens with an electronic passport and residents with a residency card and an electronic passport can use these e-gates. These are only for adults, and anyone traveling with minors still must go through the regular manned immigration checkpoints. There will also be pre-registration kiosks for those who pre-registered with Peruvian immigration to gain a QR code to pass through much faster. A quick initial check of the link shows that it's for anyone entering the country, either as a visitor or a resident, but that really wasn't perfectly clear. I'll put a link to the immigration page where you can access this pre-registration process on the show notes page. Registrations are valid for 3 days, so if you choose to try it, do it a day or two before your arrival in Peru. Some domestic departures will be remote, just as they were at the old terminal, so if your gate is preceded by the letter B, then you're going to have to go to the first floor and catch a bus to your plane. Hopefully there will be fewer of these than at the current terminal, but the good thing is that it almost never rains in Lima, and you'll have a dry trip out to your plane. Unfortunately, the same may not be true at your destination, especially if it's somewhere in the rainforest. Connections will go through the second floor, where airline desks will be located with airport and airline personnel trained to help. To speed things up, they will have a large number of automated check-in kiosks for those needing to check luggage and only needing to check luggage. So that part will work much faster, and you won't have to wait in line to go through a manned checkpoint. For me, one of the best parts of the new airport is that we will no longer have to remove our laptops thanks to modern equipment. We currently don't have to worry about things like taking off our shoes or avoiding most liquids, but for those traveling to the United States where stricter rules are in place, and I guess other countries, since I've been doing a little research, this may be different for international departures. As before, no one will be allowed past security without a boarding pass. Though in the past, there have been certain circumstances where if you're accompanying someone who is severely disabled or sometimes people in a wheelchair, it's likely that they'll allow you to pass through. But I can't guarantee that this is going to be the case. They may have airport personnel which will assist people from there on. Also, all of the airport signage that I've seen so far has directions and information in both Spanish and English if that's a concern. Lastly, as always, there will be free Wi-Fi available throughout the airport. Just look for the network called Free Wi-Fi Jorge Chavez on your device, enter the necessary information, and access the internet. That's a pretty big deal because it wasn't that long ago when you had to pay or you only had 20 minutes at a time to use the internet, which was kind of ridiculous in a modern airport. Needless to say, all of Peru, especially frequent travelers like myself, are unbelievably excited about the new airport opening. There will likely be glitches along the way, but with the old terminal becoming terribly overcrowded, even with this year's tourist season not even starting yet, this is going to be something special. A few weeks ago, I dedicated an entire podcast to what I call the dark side of tourism in Peru. As expected, I received a lot of criticism from the tourist community, especially from foreigners who operate in the Cusco and Iquitos areas. I was criticized for questioning things like illegal guides and agencies operating under the radar without licensing, operating without proper safeguards and protocols for the safety of their clients, and for avoiding things like taxes, which legitimate tourism businesses are obligated to provide and do. Of course, none of those who were critical of the episode provided any evidence that I was wrong. Apparently, these folks just don't like being called out for taking advantage of the country that allows them to live here by operating illegally and not even bothering to pay taxes. Some justify it by saying since Peruvians can get away with it, they should be allowed to do the same. Talk about a complete lack of morals and decency. Well, a few days ago, a woman from Spain went on TikTok to allege that she, along with 3 other Spaniards and 10 Peruvian tourists, were attacked, held hostage, and robbed during a tour on the Amazon River by a group of 4 armed men calling themselves river pilots, carrying pistols and machine guns. Elizabeth de Almudena told Peru's Aplicación de Noticias Regional that the assault occurred on May 14th after leaving Iquitos on a tour purchased from the agency Canopy Tours. She also told the national news agency RPP Noticias that when she tried to talk to an agency representative, she was met with indifference and even told, "These things happen, you should have insurance." The group of tourists were allegedly assaulted by the pirates after leaving Monkey Island, which is a primate rescue center and a very popular tourist destination not far downriver from Iquitos. They were held captive for about an hour while forced to access and empty their bank accounts from apps on cell phones belonging to the so-called pirates before they were finally freed. The boat carried no GPS equipment, and no one even knew they were missing until the cook at their next destination reported that they didn't show up. The agency's guide on the tour was also reported to be extremely young, between 18 and 20 years old, which meant he couldn't have had much experience. Elizabeth also reported that agency representatives also refused to provide even a refund except for the activities which they still hadn't participated in. She said that no one with the agency went with him to file a report at the police station and that they were met with, in her words, quote, abandonment and absolute negligence, with no one even waiting when they returned to Iquitos. It's possible that there were no police waiting because the agency didn't even report the incident to the police. A few days ago, RPP reported that the Regional Management of Foreign Trade and Tourism under the regional government carried out a surprise inspection of Canopy Tours and other agencies operating similar tours along the Amazon River and found out that there was a lack of sufficient protocols in place and that this was not the only robbery to have taken place this year on the river. RPP also noted that, quote, agencies do not record the names of those who use their services and that their staff even includes guides or agents who are under the age of majority, unquote, which means that they utilize minors as guides. Is this an attempt to hide illegal activities? Some people can't help to wonder if there's a relationship between some of the agencies and guides and the thieves. RPP said that, quote, local tour guides noted that these types of robberies occur frequently on the river and questioned the lack of security in high tourism areas like the Amazon Basin, end quote. Though they reported that Canopy Tours refused to take any responsibility for the incident. Honestly, I just can't imagine the terror that these 14 people endured, and I can't help but wonder why. Not only is there not only limited security for tourists, but also why some agencies seem to be unconcerned about safety and emergency protocols to protect tourists. The regional manager of the Foreign Trade and Tourism Agency said that a plan was being developed to provide increased security, but to be honest, the Amazon River Basin just in this one area is massive, and the amount of manpower required is tremendous. It doesn't help if boats don't include GPS monitoring systems so that help can find them when needed. The regional tourism police understandably say that they don't have enough fuel to patrol the Amazon River sufficiently to protect tourism. But one proposal is that officers actually accompany tour groups. One alleged member of the pirates was just captured while operating an unlicensed motorcar with stolen items confirmed to be from the river robbery found in his possession. He was subsequently also identified by at least one of the tourists. As I've said many times, it's so important to be aware of the agency and guide which you'll be traveling with anywhere in Peru. It's so sad that legitimate agencies and guides that operate in a safe, responsible, and professional manner Watch the tourism industry attract so much negative publicity, both domestically and internationally, thanks to criminal operations and even just from those who operate unprofessionally. Lastly, I want to let you know about something that's been going around for a couple of weeks now. It was reported that the Ministry of Culture wanted to raise the current maximum daily capacity at Machu Picchu from 4,500 in the current low season and 5,600 in the high season, which runs from June 1st through October 15th, all the way up to 27,000 visitors a day. Yeah, you heard that right. 27,000 people a day at Machu Picchu. The local office in Cusco rejected that, and there was tremendous backlash against the idea. A couple of days ago, the ministry released an announcement saying the media was reporting something that was inaccurate. While that's certainly possible, the ministry really seemed intent on walking back the idea of such a massive increase in daily capacity while reserving the option of an increase in the future following studies and evaluations of the situation as required by law. I certainly can't comment on the sources originally used for the proposed increases, but despite the sometimes inaccuracies of Peruvian media, they are generally responsible and accurate and operate as professional journalists, at least those who are not social media journalists whose professionalism must always be taken with a significant amount of skepticism. The bottom line is that, at least for now, there are thankfully no more increases in capacity coming in the immediate future, meaning that tickets still need to be purchased as far in advance as possible to avoid having to deal with an extra night in Machu Picchu and long lines to get tickets for the next day, which may not even be available for the route you want. Well, that's it for this episode. I'll be talking more in the next episode about the new airport after I've passed through it. But feel free to leave a comment on the show notes page if there's anything you want to share, such as a question or suggestion for a future episode, things that I really appreciate. I want this to be informative and not a waste of everyone's time like some podcasts, which seem to be just filling up time with meaningless babble. As always, thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you in Peru soon.